Hi everybody, today we're going to use everything that we've learned about quadrilaterals and combine it with what we've learned about parallel and perpendicular lines and line segments and kind of put it all together. So I have a shape here. I want you to take a minute and think about what the name of this shape is. So if you were thinking trapezoid, you're right, this is a trapezoid. So we know on a trapezoid there has to be at least one pair of parallel sides. And you might notice that on this shape we see those little arrowheads. These tell us that these two sides are parallel to each other. So even if we weren't sure by looking, those are there to tell us that they actually are parallel. So if I wanted to write out which two sides were parallel, the top side we call side AB. You might remember that when we did that in class. I'm going to put that little line on top of it to show that it's a line segment. So line segment AB. And then I'm going to do this little symbol. And that little symbol means is parallel to. You can see those are two parallel lines. So AB is parallel to CD. And that's how I would write that for that shape. So let's take a look at this other shape. So take a minute and think about what you would call this shape. If you were thinking parallelogram, you're right. Remember, you could also call it a trapezoid because it has the qualities of a trapezoid, but its most specific name is a parallelogram. And let's take a look at the symbols that are on this shape. So you'll notice that on the left and right, there's one arrow. So that's telling you that this side is parallel to this side. And then you'll notice on the top and bottom, there's two arrows, which is telling you that this side is parallel to this side. So if I wanted to write out which sides were parallel, I could write EF is parallel to HG. And then I could also write that EH is parallel to FG. Now you also might notice that there are some dashes on this shape. There's a little dash right here and a little dash right here. And it might be a little hard for you to see, but there are actually two dashes up here and two dashes down there. That is telling you that those sides are equal. So if I wanted to write out what was equal, I could write that line EF is equal to line HG, and line EH is equal to line FG. Okay, so now we're going to go on to this third shape, and here things are going to get a little bit different because they've actually told me the length of one of the sides. So when I look at this shape, take a minute and think to yourself what you think the name of this shape would be. If you were thinking rhombus, you're correct. So we could also call it some other names, but its most specific name would be rhombus. And you'll notice that every side has these little dashes, and every side has two little dashes, which tells you that every side is equal. So this side is 15 centimeters, this side is 15, this is 15, and this is 15, because you know that it's a rhombus. We also can tell from the arrowheads that JM is parallel to KL, and that JK is parallel to ML. And then they're all equal because it's a rhombus. Okay, let's look at some others. So here we have a shape. Take a minute. Think to yourself, what do you think the name of this shape is? If you were thinking rectangle, you are correct. So there's some things we could fill in right away because we know the properties of a rectangle are that the opposite sides are equal. So if the top is 10 inches, that's going to mean that this is also 10 inches. And if the right side is 3 inches, that's going to mean that the left side is 3 inches. It does have the same dashes that the other shapes had. So there's one dash up here and one dash up here, which means these two are equal. Two dashes here and two dashes here means these two are equal. And then one arrow and one arrow means these two are parallel. And two arrows means those two are parallel. So let's write those things out first. So we know that WX is parallel to ZY. And we know that WZ is parallel to XY. There's also perpendicular lines because this is a rectangle and the corners make right angles. So if I was asked what lines are perpendicular, there's actually 4 choices because there's 4 right angles. So I could say that line WZ is perpendicular, and this is the symbol for perpendicular. And remember, perpendicular means makes a right angle. So WZ makes a right angle with ZY. I'll just do one more example. Like I said, there's 4, but we also know that ZY is perpendicular or makes a right angle to YX. And remember, it doesn't matter what order you put those letters in. You could call it XY or YX. Okay, and then let's take a look at this last